back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
And welcome back to the show on CL 650. We're talking with Dr. Ted Venema from NexGen Hearing, and from the NexGen Clinic in Chilliwack, right near the hospital, is Andy Rollman. Welcome to the show, and we've been talking about the steps of really holding the client's hand or the patient's hand as you go through the process together of deciding on a hearing aid, fitting the hearing aid, and getting comfortable. And getting comfortable is a big part of it, isn't it, Andy?
Absolutely. It's tremendous, yeah.
All right, so in the previous segments, we talked about, the pre-fitting, getting fitted. Now we're at the second visit, a week out, and the joke I always make about the car is the least read book in the world is the owner's manual. Like, the car could be 20 years old, you open the glove box, and the owner's manual is brand new.
Yeah.
So people don't want, they don't want to read the instructions, so they come back and the car side of it, I always say, well, if you're so excited to get the car and you drive it away, but you haven't gone through the process of finding out what all the gizmos are in it, make a little list, put it on your phone, put a piece of paper, write them down, and go back and then ask the questions after you've lived with it for a while. And I guess that's exactly what you do. People come to you after a week and say, so what is this? How does this work? Is that basically where you're at?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So what do you say? And what sort of things do they typically want to know about?
Well, first of all, you want to explain the pieces and parts of the hearing aid.
Right.
This is where the sound comes in. Then the hearing aid amplifies it. This is where the speaker is. This is what you need to do to keep things working as well as possible. This is how you change the battery.
That's a big one.
And some hearing aids have rechargeable batteries.
Yeah,
So
that's
you
been
can
a
put
big
them in
improvement, right?
Yeah.
Big, yes.
Because lots of elderly people have problems with manual dexterity,
And vision,
And vision. So hearing aid batteries are small. And some people, how to put the hearing aids on? Because when you're looking in a mirror, everything's backwards. Okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Really?
Newsflash.
180 degrees.
Yeah. So
you have to get used to inserting and taking them out, knowing which one's right ear, which one's the left ear.
And they're different.
Oh, yeah. And red is always right ear and blue is always left, just like in the radio or TV industry.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's step one. And then the user manual. Yeah,
right.
This is for your own convenience to check it out at home if you've got questions. Now, let's make an appointment to see you in a week, because I want to hear what your observations are. And that's where we are in this segment here, talking about that second visit.
And so what are the biggest questions people typically have after a week? Are they doing something wrong, or operator error, that sort of thing?
A lot of it is review,
Yeah.
believe it or not. Even as Ted says, you want to break things up into segments kind of thing. You don't want to overwhelm them too much. But even after 1 week, it's amazing to me how many people come back and, what did you say about that again?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying is when someone goes to buy a car, the guy who's delivering the car to you or the woman's delivering the car to you says, well, there's this feature, that feature. They don't care.
No.
They just want to drive it home and show their neighbors, right?
Right.
You just want to put the hearing aids in and start hearing better.
That's exactly it.
Right.
Yeah.
So all of those things that you said, pardon the pun, went in one ear and out the other.
That's right.
You have to go over again.
You do. You have
Yeah.
to review it. So it's really important to go back and touch on these things again, even when the client or patient leaves the very first time with the hearing aids. I encourage them and say, a lot of what I'm telling you today, we're going to review next week.
Because you will have forgotten about it.
That's right. Because the moment and this is before I've even put them on, I say, once I put these on, all of my instructions, everything I've said prior to that is going to go in one ear and out the other. Thank you, Zach. And that's what happens. So we got to go back.
That's human nature.
It is.
Yeah.
And people are excited, right?
Yeah. They've made a significant investment, but the hearing aids have a lot of capabilities that need to be further explained, like the programs on a hearing aid, like we were saying. A program for listening in quiet. How do I adjust the hearing aid? Myself, how would I adjust it?
So with a lot of older people that are getting hearing aids, are they comfortable using a smartphone app for their hearing aid to change those settings? I mean, we've talked a lot of them are automatic, right? But you have the ability to put a a quiet room, a loud room, TV, all those sorts. Are they getting more comfortable with using the programs?
It's surprising to me. It's surprising how many more elderly people. I mean, I had a client to 96 years old, and he said, "Can you just review again how does my iPhone work with my hearing aids?" 96 years old. So I'm impressed with how many more elderly people are becoming quite savvy when it comes to these things. Very much so.
But there are other ways other than your smartphone to adjust it, right? So how do you do that?
Many times people have a remote control that the woman will have in her purse or the guy will have in his shirt
proprietary to that device, right?
Okay. Correct. And that'll only work that device. And how can I change the volume? Or how can I change to listening in noise? Now I'm in a noisy environment. Or might I choose that the hearing aid automatically switches between the programs so that I don't have to do that?
But then typically the ones that are very good at that are more expensive.
Yes.
Right.
Their hearing aids are basically like gold, silver, bronze. And all of them amplify and do it well. All of them have a nice low noise floor. You're not going to hear this,
And was that the case in the past?
Yes. The analog beige bananas that hung behind the ear that were about 2 inches long and they whistled like pigs. Okay. Those things were simple. Today's hearing aids, when the sound gets louder coming in the hearing aid automatically backs off. Because people who are hearing impaired, 100 decibels sounds just as loud to them as it does to a normal hearing person. Hearing loss is unique. The floor of hearing sensitivity goes up, but the loudness tolerance ceiling hasn't changed.
It stays the same.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
So hearing aids have to amplify soft sounds by a lot, average ones by less, and loud sounds by little or nothing at all. Talk about an amplifier that's constantly changing the amount by which it amplifies.
Right.
So and then you add that, they call that compression. But then another feature, as we've been describing, is different listening programs. Maybe the client wants to override the automatic feature. Maybe the client wants to manually have control, just like some people like to drive a standard as opposed to an automatic. Okay, you can do that.
Well, that's this generation.
Yeah.
Because the new generation, they don't. It's sad.
What is standard?
That's what they call a millennial anti-theft device. You have a car with a manual, they won't get stolen.
I do. 5-speed Honda Civic. It's right out there in the parking lot.
So, Andy, a second visit, you're going over these things again, right? Because as we mentioned, people are excited. They want to get their hearing aids. They've been with them a week. They come back. So how much closer do you get to the target gain or volume compared to the first visit?
Oh, that can still take some time.
Yeah.
I mean, I prepare patients or clients for several months. It's one of the reasons why NexGen does 90-day trials, is because it can take months. Keep in mind, as we said,
why is that?
It's because, as we discussed earlier, hearing loss didn't happen overnight. You didn't wake up and say, "I can't hear anything." It took several years to get to where it is. So, starting off again under target, you are so slow in reintroducing this volume or sound to them that it can take months. It's funny that if people are prepared for that, it is amazing how good the retention is. Retention meaning the retaining of the hearing aids for that person. They'll continue going with that if they understand it's going to take months. Many times what I'll say to them when we start off is, kind of think of yourself as going back to the gym. Your doctor said to you, you're overweight, you need to go back to the gym and start working out.
We all like that conversation.
Yeah, it's a wonderful one, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we start that, keep in mind, those muscles that you've reawakened, they're not going to like you very much.
You're not going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger the next day.
Absolutely not. And it's the same kind of thing. Once we start awakening these hearing muscles, in quotes, quote unquote, it's going to take a while. These things are going to be sore at first. The brain is going to say, what's going on with all of that? A bit of overload, even still, when it's underfit.
Now, Ted, you mentioned that you have the remote controller, you have the smartphone app. Do people override your setting and jack the volume up? That has happened too.
They can change the volume all they want, but they can't change the prescription formula. They can't
Right.
change what you've set it at.
But you also, with your settings, they can only take it to a certain amount.
That's right.
So even if they
course.
went to 10,
Right.
it would still be under
That's
where
correct.
your target is.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's only a scale. It's only proportionate to what you've done with the hearing aid, with the formula. So
And just to in case some of our listeners might have this query, hearing aids don't deliver sound sufficient to cause more hearing loss.
No.
There's like old go-karts had a governor on them. You could only press the gas so far down. It's by law. Hearing aids can't put out more than about 120 decibels. They just can't, which is good.
Yeah.
So
what that second visit, as we mentioned, what is it the thing that they like to hear that they haven't, that be missing out on? The S's and the T's are things they're picking up. But what did they say that I've really missed hearing?
music.
Yeah?
One of the things is music, especially people that are music aficionados. They really like their music. Many of them say, I've been able to hear the cellos and the drums if they like symphony and that sort of thing. And they say to me, it's amazing how well I can hear the piccolos again. Those higher pitched or higher frequency instruments kind of thing. It's amazing. They say how well rounded it is. And that's really neat. And to be part of that experience with them, walking along and watching them become enlightened to some of these things is really neat.
Well, one of the things we've talked about many times is the change in the person.
Yeah.
You talked at the very beginning about we want to know about the person. So as the weeks go by and the visits stack up, how do you see them change?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent one. One of the best questions yet, Zach, because I think one of the things that you notice from them, and especially when they've, come in with their family, and we highly encourage them to do that. Come in with a family member or a significant other. It's so important to do that. Because what you've noticed at the beginning is there is a disconnection. There is a separation in their environment socially.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, what you start to watch, and it's beautiful, actually, you start to see this reconnecting start to take place. They are less hesitant about going into those environments that they were anxious about before because they were kind of piecing things together. They're not doing that anymore. They're in there. They're engaged. They're becoming socially active again.
Yeah.
That is...
Did you see the physical change, right?
Countenance changes.
it changes
Absolutely.
relationships because hearing loss is the one sense that involves not only the person who's got it, but significant others. It's communication.
Right. And I often say, too, that, and Helen Keller said this, I think, was years ago. She said, a vision loss will separate you from things.
Yep.
Hearing loss separates you from people.
Yep.
That's key.
Yep.
We're going to pick up on the rest of the conversation from NexGen Hearing. We have Andy Rollman and also Dr. Ted Veneman. We'll pick up the conversation next.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.